This is Houston. Say again, 7.
We're standing by here at 3 p.m.
Is that the booster or is it an actual sighting? Again, 7. 7?
So we have several, looks like the 3 up here, actual sighting. It looks like hundreds of little particles going by the left out about 3 to 4 miles.
I understand you have a lot of small particles going to the left. How far away?
It looks like a ship. It looks like it. That's taking off.
Roger, I understand they're 3 to 4 miles away.
The audio is from 1965, part of the declassified documents. Gemini 7, where 2 astronauts in orbit reported the following. Houston, we have a bogey at 10 o'clock. At a high point, the astronauts reported several objects and bright particles against the black background of space. This audio was classified for 61 years. Imagine everything that's out there. All the topics behind it, it's true impressive. Let's listen to how and let's see how. Well, there are some very interesting movements, but look, for example, at this document. Other classified documents. It was March 31, 1950. When? Well, they claimed that 18 were found, get this, 18 alien bodies. Yes, just imagine that. That's what the official document from the United States government says. 1950 Mojave Desert, 18 aliens, each 1 meter tall, were captured. All of them lifeless. They were found inside a craft. By the way, the craft was intact. This is what the document says. And well, like I said, this is huge. What is being revealed, they say, is a turning point. And well, those who understand this have already realized that history changes today, that many other things have been revealed, but not at this level. And well, given this obvious situation, now there is also a congressman who is asking for more information to be revealed. We'll talk more about that topic in a moment, but for now, let's get into the information. If you're just joining, go ahead and like, share, help us out with that thing you already know about. Well, look, there it is, there it is, there it is. Do you know where it is? Here, so where are you, Astrid? No, if you don't want to come, it's the weekend, you don't have to come anymore. Oh no, there you are, you're coming now. It's not painting, great. So let's get to the information. It's been crazy today, very interesting what's been happening. And well, in the end, these are official documents that have been classified for a very long time. We need to start dusting this off and see what this whole case reveals. Let's listen to this audio, the same audio in English, but dubbed into Spanish. Let's see how it turns out, right? Anyway, you wanted to hear it in the original, especially because hearing this is historic. It's something historic, but let's listen to the dubbed version now and see how it turns out. We'll analyze it in a moment, right? Let's listen to what it says.
I have a bogey at 10 o'clock, up high.
Esto es Houston. Listen to what it says.
I said we have a bogey at 10 o'clock, up high.
Is it reinforcement or an actual sighting?
A what?
Repeat, 7.
I said we have several. It looks like there's debris up there, actual sightings. It looks like hundreds of small particles are passing to the left at a distance of about 3 to 4 miles.
Keep in mind that there are a lot of small particles passing on the left. At what distance?
7. And it looks like they're flat with a triangle in the center.
Richard, do you understand that they're about 3 or 4 miles away?
Those things are in the past. They're moving on.
The thruster on my side has a shiny body with the sun in the background against a black backdrop, and there are billions of particles around it.
Who knows if he means a triangle? Are they discussing particles or shiny things? Well, that's part of what's being reported in that case. And also, well, there have been reactions from science communicators like Loeb himself, an important astrophysicist from Harvard, but also the science communicator Michio Kaku himself, who has come out to comment on several important points in this whole situation. Let's listen to at least part of the interview he gave to Fox News, and well, I find it interesting. Let's see what he says.
Dr. Michio Kaku is a theoretical physicist. Doctor, on a scale from 1 to 10, how excited are you about this UFO launch?
I would give it a 10 because we are at a turning point. For decades, we had to rely on the testimonies of housewives and truck drivers who were mocked and laughed at. Now we're talking about huge files that are ultra secret, and for the first time in modern history, are being released to the American public. So I would like to congratulate President Trump for having the courage to go against it. The recommendations from the FBI and CIA not to release these files so that independent researchers and scientists can review them. And that way we can draw our own conclusions instead of the CIA deciding for us.
And apparently the CIA is still fighting against the full release. When you hear or see a UFO moving like that, up, down, left, right, at 90-degree angles so fast you can hardly believe it, does that tell you anything?
To me, it says that the laws of centrifugal force should crush the bones of the people inside the flying saucer. So either it's basically an automated flying saucer, so there are no bones to break while the thing zigzags back and forth, or it shows great intelligence to create something like that. So in other words, humans can't get on a spaceship that zigzags like that. Only us. Aliens could, but even their bones would break. So it must be a very high level of automated computer technology.
Well, part of what Michio Kaku says in this comment is that little by little the information is being revealed, the documents are already out. I already gave you the page at noon or in the morning. It wasn't the war page, it's not that, it's this one. .gov is the UFOs, not UAPs, UFOs, UAB or UAB. Today we won't show it to you again. But the point is that, well, the documents are there, everyone can access them, they can see them. There are 162 documents in this specific declassification, although there are also other documents that are expected to be published, and there are even some demands already. There are also even warnings from some people who claim they could reveal more information, since this declassification is very brief in comparison to what it could be. And even some documents that had been uploaded started to be taken down, so there's also an internal struggle from some people who don't want everything to be known in some way. And look, part of these images, this was another one that also caught a lot of attention, and that's because there's an object right in the center. Yes, there's an object right in the center and suddenly it's going to move, plus there are other objects spinning around there. Some reports, some of the videos have context and others don't have much context. I explained it. Alright, what are we seeing or where are they? For national security reasons. Let's also look at what Avila himself says. Let's go to that. Avila, in the declassification that has just been released, says that his reaction is a bit different because Michio Kaku says, from 1 to 10, how do you rate this? I wouldn't rate it that high. He excitedly says, no, this is a 10, right? I mean, because finally we're going to be able to start investigating this a little more and not just have testimonies from housewives or truck drivers, which is true. I mean, we're starting to understand that people give their explanations in their testimonies about what they've seen. No, truck drivers and people on the road honestly see a lot of things suddenly. But now we're seeing military cameras using the most advanced technology because some of them are from 2023, 2024. Some of these are recent cases and documents like this one from Mojave, the Mojave Desert, where supposedly they had recovered 18 extraterrestrial bodies with an intact craft. That, among other things, honestly is really surprising. But despite that, Avila is a bit more skeptical, let's say, and he makes several comments. Then he states that indeed declassification is important, but his position is that after reviewing the 162 documents, his Galileo project team, not just him, but everyone else as well, yes, everyone else, let's say the team exactly, sat down to read them and they concluded that the objects or he says what's seen there is documented. They present characteristics that are important, that are extraordinary. But, he says, none of those objects presented so far have characteristics extraordinary enough to require an exotic origin. So, at least what they see, what this team sees, is still not strange enough to be able to say that it's alien. That's what is said here. So, for example, how do you explain this document, right? Of the 18 supposed aliens, what are we talking about? What kind of situation was that? Come on, if it was a mistake or joke, they would have shown it by now and clarified, this was said, but it wasn't that. No, this was classified for decades. He also points out that the images from the Apollo mission, images that we showed you here, some of them quite curious, like this one, for example. No, this is from the Apollo mission. This is Apollo 18, 1969, and he says that these images could be reflections or natural phenomena like asteroid impacts on the moon. The truth is, when I say impact on the moon, well, nothing. And as for a reflection, well, maybe it's a reflection on the lens or something like that. But look, well, that's what he says. We know they're not conclusive, right? At least for us, these pieces of evidence or these oddities are not conclusive.
That's it. Now he's the skeptic, right?
Now he's the skeptic, right?
Apollo 12. It's Apollo 12.
It's Apollo 12 and the other one, the one I showed, Apollo 17, right? Which is the previous one, right? As far as I know, right? Apollo 12. That's true. You're right. It's Apollo 12. And well, here is also a bit of the description of what was being discussed at the time, right? I mean, there's a bit of the conversation that would have taken place at that moment. That also, well, shows, let's say, a bit of what a scientist has to be, right? Not just because they're declassifying that. That doesn't mean you're going to say, oh, well, then they're aliens, right? I mean, no, he also has to give his opinion and say, let's take it slow. Let's look step by step at what it is or which images are really conclusive, right? Let's keep an eye on what they say. Surely other scientists will react. In this case, Loeb, who is usually open-minded, isn't so much this time, right? And Michio Kaku, on the contrary, seems or apparently looks a bit more open, especially because of the strangeness. And he says something alive couldn't be there, at least not as we know it, because it wouldn't withstand the pressure. Here, well, some of the key points that come out of this conversation. From the Apollo 12 astronauts 1969, he says, this is affirmative, we are ready for the E-mod, and they respond, Intrepid Houston, and then, well, basically it's just signals, right? These exchanges keep coming through, but at one point they say, well, hello stranger, how are you? Good morning, Dick. Are we okay? How are you? Well, pretty good. I hope you like having some company to watch. Okay.
For a change, but you see that from Buzz Aldrin, who was part of Apollo 11 now at 96 years old, and last year he got married again, right? Yes. He does have it. And by the way,
his wife passed away. She was very young and she passed away.
Yes.
Putting mud? And now he's going to get married for the 15th time or so?
Well, and today a document was made public where he talked about different things or unusual things they saw when they went to the moon. In it, he talks, for example, about a flash they saw near the moon. They point at it with a monocular, but they can't see it clearly. At night, well, what would be night for us? But anyway, the moment when they sleep, the day before they return, he says they see a kind of flash in the cabin, that it kept growing and growing and that it lasted a couple of minutes. So he said it was a very bright source of light, and he said we could attribute it to a possible laser, but then who would be shining a laser? They are the only humans on the moon at that moment. And there are several of those testimonies from various astronauts, not just Buzz Aldrin, who have seen quite unusual things on their trips to space.
Exactly. Well, and within these comments, they say, well, they do that, they do this, they make references as if they have company. That draws attention. And well, that's interesting too. Buzz Aldrin and other astronauts have said before what was experienced on the moon and what has been experienced in space. They've had some curious, strange encounters, observations, also quite unusual. And I think we're going to see that too, little by little.
Exactly.
Well, let's move on to other matters. Let's talk about other important topics. We'll talk about this congressman in a moment, but hold on a second. We'll discuss that congressman topic shortly for those just joining us. Let me tell you that among the strangest documents, at least from my point of view, besides the one about the 18 aliens, there are these documents where it is discussed, shown, and reported how over there in over in Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and that whole area, they would call from different parts of the world and ask the United States, are we seeing this? Is this happening? Do you know what's going on with this issue? It really catches my attention, and also the case of the Mexican Federal Police being involved in an issue, getting involved in a matter.
It's too late. I mean, it's too far back to involve this, the one who disappeared, not the doctor.
Greenberg, yes, that case, yes.
Yes, it's very separate.
It's separate, yes.
But since we believe in time travel, well, okay.
It's just that this case is also really strange. I mean, because yeah, it was weird. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Let's see who that is. W.R. Altman, right? We don't know why the FBI suddenly takes this person seriously, but he triangulates from Mexico through the federal police. Weird, yeah. How many under tests? It's just strange. I mean, desde la CIA, pero la CIA together with the police. Well, that's it. The strange case. They send a report from the United States where it is revealed where this individual insists that there is a device that is being used. Yes. Yes. And that there are some bad apples, let's say. I mean, someone who is causing harm with that supposed laser. Or well, he calls it a laser. But he also calls it by different names, like a kind of ray that has the ability to control many things. Not exactly like that, but exaggerated. We're not talking about controlling a person's taste, how they feel, how they think, how their nervous system works. I mean, truly absurd things that are just way out there. Well, outside the bounds of logic, right? It's more fantastical than anything else, but okay, it's very fantastical, that's fine. But then you say, hey, but why do you classify it? I mean, why? If this is just someone's delusion, why do you make the effort to go?
But do you think it's a delusion?
Yeah, well, I mean, you say it's just so extraordinary that you say this. I mean, logically, you'd think this is a delusion, so why would they take her seriously? Of course, the agents must have seen something to have triangulated this and passed on the information. I mean, let's put ourselves in the context that this exists. Yes, that this device exists, and that they can control you to such a level with that device that they can even make you think differently. Yes, well, and that, that information and that you have a way to counter it. Obviously, I think the last thing you would do is contact an authority directly, because obviously, if you know they're using it, you're going to say they'll use it against me. I mean, you're not going to go and show it. You'd need to triangulate and do what they did, which is the craziest part.
That's why at this point I tell myself,
Assuming, but the point is that what gets me is that the fact that they classify it and claim, well, that this project lasted 8 years. I mean, in Jalin and in Texas, by the way, very close to here. And after that, the project disappears from there and supposedly goes to satellites. And through those satellites, well, can you do that now? If that were done, if that level of power were raised, then what? Protected by the Ayatollahs and by the facts.
changing everything really fast.
Exactly. Either this simply disappeared and the project no longer exists, or just doesn't exist. I mean, it's just kind of hidden somewhere.
Now, there are a lot of CIA projects that not even the government knows about.
Yes, exactly. What I think is that something like this would be so powerful that it couldn't be in the hands of a government. Because just imagine.
And even less in the hands of a private individual.
And even less in the hands of a private individual.
Of course, I see myself doing it like this.
See,
We're going to be millionaires.
Let's see. Say it. There's no one else like this. Say it. How does it go?
Pepe, you like mint chocolate ice cream.
Remember the one who made a mistake and claimed it was a different Miss Kera?
That's how it is with Haley, Harley, or whatever her name is.
Yeah, like that. You don't have to say another name. It's fun here trolling people like this guy, dressed up as a little devil, not caring if they say the best things about him. That's how it is, right? Well, yeah, it's really crazy. Let's go to what this congressman says, who insists that there are more things to analyze. Let's get into that detail. There's a congressman, actually several congressmen, who are demanding that all the information be revealed, that this doesn't just stop halfway.
Exactly. Well, to begin with, look, Tim, this Burchett, well, he has been one of the main spokespeople on this topic. Along with Luna, he has said that what came out today is a big drop, but it's really an ocean. The information that's out there, I mean, that hasn't been revealed. We have to remember that, well, supposedly this is like in phases. This would be the first phase. In fact, Luna has been reiterating that today. That Ana Paulina Luna, that in the next phase or in the next batch, there will be a lot of videos of military personnel that she has been pushing to be released. Well, today's videos like this one have been impressive. Yes.
I mean, I don't know if I mean, we're seeing a star-shaped object flying, doing pretty bizarre things, right? But besides that, I mean, what you mentioned about Tim Burch, Ana Paulina Luna, and other lawmakers, well, they say, look, we already have approvals. Supposedly, they already saw it for sure with everything, because everything they reveal comes super censored. Look at all those black boxes. All these black boxes are redactions placed over information, capabilities, types of filters, things that these types of cameras have that they don't want to reveal. Some even have half like a whole giant black box because there are many things they don't want people to know about these capabilities that, in this case, the United States has. So surely what comes next will also be cut like that and all that, but at least it's something. It gives us something, I mean, it gives us an idea of what the phenomenon was like, or in any case. And what they said is that there's even one of the videos they're going to reveal soon, which I keep saying still isn't available yet. It's that the United States shoots at one of those objects and then...
To see what happens.
They were ordered to do it. I think so, but I'm not sure. They wouldn't shoot without a reason. There must be an order since it's too close. I don't know. Or maybe it's just as you said, let's see what happens. The point is, they shoot at one of those objects, and that's one of the videos that will be revealed.
There are 46 videos still pending, and they're pushing for them to be released in the next batch. And by the way, what's curious is that now the ones who seemed like the conspiracy theorists are coming out today to say, don't fight these revelations. This is a lie. This time it's InfoWars. All of them arrogantly saying, don't watch it, don't believe them.
All those who...
It turns out that things change.
Even Joe Rogan.
Yes, he said no, that this is just so we don't talk. Yes, obviously too, of course, but it doesn't mean you stop talking about Iran.
Exactly. I mean, they'll keep talking every day, but you can't spend your whole life fighting so that it doesn't get out. Of course, they'll use everything, right?
I mean...
Or whatever it is, they're going to use it. If BTS came, they're going to use BTS. If anyone else came, they're going to use them. The World Cup, whatever you want, it's always going to be, well, also a political and economic issue. I mean, obviously, but that doesn't mean you're not going to talk about it. We're not just going to stop talking about the topic, right? No, of course not. These people are crazy out there, but, well, there are all kinds of people in this world. As they say, let's move on to other important matters too, but let's not take our eyes off this issue. Another matter to keep an eye on.
We'll be watching it extra closely given how things are.
Too much information.
We have Iran, the antivirus, UFOs, Epstein cases we can't forget, though we're allowed to, and Ukraine. What else?
No, well, whatever comes up day by day becomes surprising news. Let's go then, before we get into the Iran thing and all that. The IAEA, which is this UN agency that monitors nuclear issues around the world, has confirmed the transfer of 13 kilograms of enriched uranium from Venezuela to the United States.
Since yesterday we were talking about this, that they had to remove this material that was there in this plant, which had been damaged during the attack that the United States carried out on Venezuela on January 3rd when they removed Nicolas Maduro. Well, after a process that took weeks during which the IAEA was present, there were also experts from the United Kingdom helping with this material, which is no small thing.
It's certainly no small thing, and now it's in the hands of the United States.
Now, the United States, which will probably use it in their nuclear plants if it can be used. I don't know how enriched it is right now because it hasn't been used since the 90s.
Since the 90s, exactly. That's also important to mention. And before we move on to anything else, I'm curious about how oil closed today. Look, this is the price, just quickly, $104. That's the price at which oil closed. Obviously, it's not ideal, but it's not like it's skyrocketed either, and the price, $104, is lower than it was in recent days. We have to remember that this week it almost reached $120. So the fact that it's at $104, even if it sounds bad, it's not really bad news. I mean, because I insist, if we look here at the
But it seems like 100 has already become the floor.
Of course, the new floor is 100, but well, it was heading this way, and now that it's at 100, you say, well, it doesn't sound so bad anymore, even though the price is obviously huge, because this is going to have effects on prices globally. But obviously, well, no, it didn't stay at 120, which was already an exaggerated amount. Let's move on to other important matters as well. What else do we have over there?
Well, today we're talking about how Trump is not ruling out moving the troops from Germany. Do you remember that he withdrew 5,000 and said he was going to withdraw more? Well, he's actually thinking about moving them to Poland, which, well, isn't a bad move. We know he's upset with Germany, but it's definitely better to keep them in NATO and have that area protected, especially Poland, which would surely be one of the first countries affected if Russia decides to do something. Going against NATO instead of pulling them completely out of Europe, I think this has to do with the fact that the Republicans were really upset and worried about this issue, about the withdrawal, that he was going to withdraw the 5,000 soldiers. At the end of the day, the soldiers in Europe, which a lot of people don't understand and say, oh, we're just lending them soldiers over there, but that also represents power and influence for the United States.
Of course, exactly. And well, this is also a rebalancing since Poland has been doing its homework from a military point of view.
And diplomatically
as well. Yes. But Poland already announced its next objective a few days ago. Poland is aiming to have the largest army in all of Europe, aiming to have 500,000 troops. Besides, they're not just any soldiers, they're very well trained soldiers. We have to remember that Poland has been the country that has invested poorly and also has an economy that has grown a lot and is now, well, let's say it's a country. It used to be a country that, so to speak, exported people. A lot of people still do exactly that. There is a constant exodus of people leaving, but it didn't become the country where the most people returned to live because they saw that the economy was improving, that there was work, etc. And they've made a lot of progress in technology, in military matters. They've advanced in many areas, but they also say that they have to protect what they've achieved and not repeat the mistakes of the past. Let's move on to other important matters. Notice that there have already been a series of announcements, and first of all, they're working on this. Well, there's an alert about a hantavirus outbreak where they've said, hey, we've known about the antivirus for a long time, but until now it hasn't been a concern because it rarely spreads humans, but it turns out that the Andes strain is a strain that can evolve. Well, actually, it already evolved some time ago to be able to infect humans from one human to another. In response to this, well, it was also confirmed by the WHO that the flight attendant who was hospitalized did not have hantavirus. She was feeling unwell, as you said, but it wasn't because of hantavirus. In her case, it's confirmed that she didn't have hantavirus, and that's also good news because she had been in contact with a lot of people. So if she was sick, maybe others could be too and all that, but you did the test and it turns out she doesn't have hantavirus, and that's also good news. By the way, there's also a report from Moderna.
Yes, Moderna, they made one of the COVID vaccines, and I think it was actually one that was just a single shot. It didn't have boosters. Well, it turns out that they are already working on preliminary research for the development of a vaccine against hantavirus. This comment obviously caused their stock to jump 14% on the New York Stock Exchange, and well, this is largely obviously because of the cruise issue. By the way, they leave today. The authorities, the director of epidemiology and environmental health of the province, Juan Petrina, over there in Ushuaia, said that he denied that the origin was Ushuaia. So he has denied this, but there will have to be an investigation because, they have to investigate thoroughly. After all, that couple was there, the couple who were the first to lose their lives. Well, the director of epidemiology and environmental health of Tierra del Fuego is named Juan Petrina, and he gave a press conference today in which he assured the chance they got infected there is nearly non-existent. This is a comment that is based on epidemiological data and public explanations. So if it didn't come from there, we need to investigate thoroughly. So where did it come from? In the end, the origin of COVID was never known and will never be known because too much time has passed and too many people have covered it up. And well, Petrina explained that the affected couple arrived in the province on March 29 and stayed for just 2 days, so they were only there for a very short time and then they boarded the ship. They boarded the cruise right away and left on December 1st. The husband of the couple started showing symptoms on April 6th. So, it's a very short period for the incubation time of this disease, which can be up to 45 days.
Yes, this is very extensive. Also check what's happening in the United States with the hantavirus situation. Notice that the United States is also preparing an evacuation from Nebraska, the medical hub of the central United States. They are preparing a biocontainment operation that they say could set an international precedent. Because of the hantavirus situation involving the MV Hondias cruise ship, they say that the United States has already ordered the evacuation of 17 citizens who remain on board the MV Hondias cruise ship, which has been identified as the main focus, obviously, of this whole situation. The operation will be coordinated, by the way, with the CDC and the Department of Health. This is also in conjunction with Spanish authorities. What is happening here? How is this situation going?
Well, regarding the destination of these evacuees, we should first agree that there is a group that already left on their own. They went ahead and are already in the United States, but there is another group of evacuees who are about to leave or have already left. They are going to the Special Biocontainment Unit at the University of Nevada, where they will all be in a super advanced facility for high-risk infectious diseases. We have to remember that this cruise ship was turned away in several places. It was also rejected in Tenerife, in the Canary Islands, the archipelago. Well, rejected in Tenerife, Canary Islands. While they decide how the disembarkation will happen, it's going to be difficult for it to arrive on Saturday or Sunday. And well, right now, the latest information is that there are 9 confirmed or suspected cases. Obviously, that number could be higher.
Yes, it's going to be complicated. Honestly, it's not going to be complicated because, well, the destination of evacuees that was agreed upon was rejected in Tenerife in the Canary Islands archipelago. Well, until now, let it be known that people have been fine, right?
Yes, they say they're fine. They're worried about what will happen once they reach land because they're talking about pretty long quarantine periods because, well, you just heard what the person from Ushuaia said. It can take up to 45 days for symptoms to appear. So it's very likely that in their countries they'll want to keep us in quarantine for 45 days, which is a long time. They won't be able to go back to work, and whatever they had pending just won't get done.
Well, that's how things are in this matter. Anything else about the antivirus?
About the antivirus, I don't think so.
No, well, if nothing else comes up, we'll be right back. But for now, let's move on to other important matters. Now, on to the other important matters as well. Donald Trump is waiting for an answer, they say. So, Donald Trump would be waiting for a response from Iran right now, and if there's no agreement, then basically the Freedom Project comes back.
Exactly. Let's see if this really gets started. We also have to remember that the Freedom Project, even though it wasn't mentioned at first, is now going to be called Freedom Project Plus.
It's going to be called Freedom Plus.
Revenge, yes. We have to remember that this was really stopped, even though he said it was Pakistan or whatever. It was because Saudi Arabia closed its airspace. Yes. I mean, that was the reason. It's just that it wasn't said until this information was leaked. And well, today the president assured that if there is no understanding with Tehran, they will reactivate this operation. And he says, supposedly I have to receive a letter, he said, from Iran. He says tonight we'll see how it goes. Which matter? Well, it's 10 p.m. in Mexico, and so far nothing has been heard about this issue, he says. We could resume the Liberty Project if things don't go well, and then it would be called Liberty Project Plus. By the way, what's this epic fail operation?
Epic Fury.
Epic Fury, actually. Epic Fury, epic fail, actually epic fail. Well, Epic Fury, that's what some analysts are saying. This topic is already over, I don't know what else. This lets them keep operating under a new name without needing permission. They claim it's a different issue, so they don't have to ask Congress for approval. it's a thing he has with the lawyers. So crazy, really. It's true. He has lawyers.
It's like he doesn't even exist. I mean, Congress is just for revealing things, UFOs, that's it. I mean, but it's not functioning the way it should be. And it surprises me that, I mean, obviously the Republicans are concerned, but the Democrats should be too, but the Republicans should also be concerned. Because in the end, that power isn't serving the purpose it's supposed to serve. And well, it's also a huge issue, but anyway, there it is, right? The thing is, that's kind of the last one. The thing is, we don't know if the war will continue or not. By the way, a big shout out to everyone in the community who sent us a super chat, and many thanks to Vicky.
Thank you so much, Vicky.
Vicky, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your comment about the rains that were really intense, right?
We've said how many millimeters fell. It was just too much water, honestly. Yes, it's worrying to see. Some people say that, for example, some of the places that got flooded, in part, it's because of the construction that's going on. Right now, I don't know how true that is, but it is shocking.
Yeah. Well, today it happened to us again well, actually, it didn't happen to us. I mean, the rain was really intense. We thought it was going to get really bad again. We were right on Constitucion, which is where the World Cup and monorail construction projects are and all that stuff. Well, the monorail actually. And it got intense again, right? But no, it lasted about 20 minutes and then the sun came back out and everything, but that's how it's been, right? That's how things have been. Well, so again, Vicky, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vicky. To the whole community, please support us. Which obviously is, well, for those who don't know, I mean, the support that you all give, well, it's totally focused, on the channel, on improving it, on upgrading the equipment. All of that really helps a lot and we really appreciate it. All the support, well, has helped the channel keep growing. Obviously, thank you so much for the support you give to this independent news channel. And in any case, to the community that says I can't contribute, but just being here, sharing and liking the videos, all of that also helps. So I really appreciate it as well. Let's move on to other matters about Iran as well, right? There are several pending topics there. One of them is the one related to Mojtaba, right? Let's get into that. Hey, so what's going on with the Iran issue? There's also a pending matter with Mojtaba, the supreme leader who hasn't appeared, right? What's happening with that issue? How is that situation going?
Well, it's known from multiple intelligence sources that, well, U.S. intelligence services believe that the new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, son of Ali Khamenei, the previous supreme leader, is actually playing an important role in the war strategy. And the other day, the president of Iran, Masoud Pezeshkian, said that, well, yes. It was clear that he had a very clear idea of the plan Iran should follow in this war. It seems that, well, according to intelligence, this would actually be true. The reports reveal that the authorities say that within the now fragmented regime, it is likely that Mojtaba Khamenei is still leading Iran's negotiations with the United States to put an end to the war. And even though he hasn't returned we haven't seen him, well, since the war started on February 28th. Yes, well, the administration, intelligence has this information. And even though Donald Trump is still looking for, a diplomatic solution, if we look at Iran, they're very, very intense when it comes to military matters. Today it was said that they were 120% prepared in case the war started again. I mean, we don't see them with a negotiating attitude. Obviously, Donald Trump doesn't help either with his comments sometimes. But the way they're presenting themselves is definitely concerning.
Exactly. I mean, and it's also very interesting that now intelligence is revealing, that in fact, I mean, yeah, maybe if it's around, it's being careful and maybe it doesn't show up. Because of this idea, I mean, I don't know, that maybe he was injured in the face and doesn't want to show up there. Exactly.
Exactly. Well, Nasran Jose, who is the chief of protocol for the Supreme Leader's office, said that he is recovering from his injuries, that he is in good health. He said that Kamarai suffered injuries to his foot, to his lower back, and that he has shrapnel fragments behind his ear, but that the wounds are healing. So apparently he is fine. He is the one making the decisions. We saw Pezeshkian, who claims to have spoken with him. So, well, he is about to appear. He is more alive. Not as dead as they thought at first.
Well, let's see. Let's see what happens. Time will tell. But at least those are the signs we have at the moment regarding the case of the Supreme Leader, right? And let's move on to other topics. Let's move on to other important matters as well. About 2 weeks ago, right? Around that time, we were talking about the doctor, the physician, what's his name? Masoud Pezeshkian, the president of Iran. That's right. Since he is a doctor, they had given him access to occasionally go in and see Moktava. Well, what seemed like a rumor now seems to have some truth to it because that's what intelligence is now reporting. Let's move on to other important matters. Thanks. Hey, there's also a report about the radical group Hezbollah. Well, after this supposed ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, not Israel and Hezbollah. Well, none of the attacks had been claimed. They were more like movements that Israel detected from that side. And in that situation, they would suddenly launch an attack on Israel. And then later they claimed that there were rockets being launched by, what's their name, Hezbollah and all that stuff. But today something different happened.
Well, today Hezbollah claimed responsibility for their first attack against Israeli territory since the truce began because, well, there had been attacks, but they never came forward to take responsibility. Today they launched missiles at an Israeli military base that is south of Najarila this Friday. This would be their first official attack where they come out publicly and say it. And the group described it as a response to the violation of the ceasefire by the Israeli enemy. We have to remember, it was yesterday that they attacked an area of Lebanon where an important leader was killed. Obviously, I think this is a response to what we're seeing right now. And the Israeli army intercepted one of the launches and the rest fell in open areas. No injuries were reported. This is very common that they fall in areas where there is nothing. So even though they fall, they don't affect anyone at all.
Well, that's how things are on this topic. Well, what does it mean that there's a ceasefire? At least between them, there isn't one, and there won't be for a good while, clearly. Here, the question is, what strategy is Iran using in its proxy wars through Hezbollah, through the Houthis, for example? The Houthis have been very quiet compared to Hezbollah, which has been carrying out more operations. Both with an almost complete disappearance. We have to remember that they disagreed with the strategy of launching attacks against the Gulf countries. Well, all these conflicts have been kind of reshaping themselves and they continue to make the news almost every day. Basically, the whole Middle East, starting with Afghanistan, which, by the way, you hardly hear about anymore.
Don't they have enough problems of their own?
With all this trouble with Pakistan.
Like Pakistan with the famine, I mean, they have really serious economic problems.
Great, let's address the other important matters too.
Well, an advisor to the Supreme Leader of Iran said that having the Strait of Hormuz, they already say that having the Strait of Hormuz is the same as having an atomic bomb. In other words, they realize they don't need a nuclear weapon, that they basically already have one by controlling the Strait of Hormuz. The advisor, Mohammad Mokhber, stated that Iran had neglected for a long time this privileged position they have along the strait, which is an advantage. It's extremely important for the transport of oil and gas, and well, Tehran has taken control of it after the attacks from the United States, and they say the Strait of Hormuz represents an opportunity as valuable as having an atomic bomb. In fact, having in your hands a position that allows you to influence the global economy with a single decision is a great opportunity, not some shark mindset, damn it.
I mean, no, it's just that they realize because
And the bad thing is that from now on, everyone is going to think the same way.
that they realize that this strategy works, which in the end hadn't been carried out this way before. Well, now it's working for them, and the pressure on the Gulf countries is having a very, very strong domino effect.
And it has been stated that they are committed to not giving up this wartime gain. And she added that Iran will legally change the regime of that strait in order to keep having it, to maintain it as theirs, despite international law allowing passage. But this isn't going to work, at least according to this advisor to the Supreme Leader. And, well, that's something that Marco Rubio was talking about today, right? So from now on, well, let's see what other countries, other regimes will think the same way. They'll say, hey, I've got a stretch where the oil and gas pass through, so I'm going to close it too, or charge if I feel like it.
Well, probably not. That's probably going to be the way of thinking there. By the way, speaking of something else.
Yes. Today, the Army, the SEDCOM report that they have managed to divert, because we have to remember that the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz for the Iranians is still ongoing. And well, today the CDCOM announces that it has managed to divert 57 commercial vessels and has disabled 4 of them. So it was a very busy day for the people at SEDCOM. They have managed to prevent ships from entering or leaving Iranian ports.
Well, that's how things are, and among the shocking images are, well, some of the attacks that have been happening and, well, some really intense situations. This is a logistics center belonging to the GSTT of Elektrokomstat. This situation is in Rostov, over there in Russia.
Those were part of the attacks we already showed you. The footage was really intense. Well, they have stopped. Well, they're going to stop for a few days. But anyway, we'll get back to that topic of Ukraine and Russia in a moment. Because, well, today one has been signed. Well, it hasn't been signed, but it has been discussed.
They're talking about an agreement, right? At least a temporary one for this moment, as they call it, with the parades and all that. Now, let's also look at this other image, right? It's part of these attacks happening in that area. What's going on?
It's an attack that happened in the Chechnya region by Ukrainian drones and several vehicles. These drones attacked the FSB compound where the intelligence offices are located. The command center number 42 of the Guards Motorized Rifle Division in the Kharkov district was the one attacked. This happened this morning, and these are also other images where we can see the direct attack, let's say from another angle. It's the same attack on the office, and you can clearly see how the drone enters and how it hits inside the office.
Let's see. Let's watch it. There it is. There it is. Yes, well, there it is.
There it is.
They saw it like in a movie at the perfect moment.
Also,
well, there's also this other image that caught people's attention. This is part of the rehearsals for the May 9th parade, and well, last night this emergency situation was reported in which Russia was holding the rehearsal the day before, and suddenly, well, something happened.
exactly, they started hearing drones and, well, they obviously started running to protect themselves. They have obviously been rehearsing for tomorrow's event. Well, for them, it's already May 9th now, Victory Day. And, well, it's said that there was reportedly a recording of the parade ready to play in case there was a drone attack from Ukraine. They were prepared to play it. The tape would play and the recording would be shown and people wouldn't even notice.
I mean, they still use tapes.
They use tapes. Yes, they still use tapes. I mean, if they have wells from Stalin's time, why wouldn't they still use VHS tapes, right?
Well, no,
Where'd that come? See?
well, that's how things are with this topic too. By the way, the airports that have been seen in Russia, well, they're full. This has been shared by Russian bloggers themselves, who are complaining that there are still constant flight cancellations. Cancellations are happening without justification, not due to technical issues, but because Russian movement is currently very restricted. Well, maybe it's because of nervousness, because they might suspect there could be some kind of protest. I'm not sure what Vladimir Putin is waiting for, but there have been some strange movements lately.
Yes. Everything has been very restrained. Well, they've obviously blamed this on the Ukrainian drones. There have been a lot of videos from influencers who were going to travel to Turkey, which is the preferred place and one of the few places where Russians are allowed to enter for vacation. And, well, the Ukrainians' response has been great. They say, well, you have 1 or 2 days at the airport. We've been sleeping in basements for 4 years. I mean, that's nothing.
It's nothing compared to what they're going through. And well, another thing is this message that the president of Ukraine has delivered. Let's listen. According to what's reported in this message from Ukraine, right now he has reached the front lines and visited Ukrainian positions. Meanwhile, there's talk of some kind of agreement, at least for 3 days, to avoid attacks on both sides. Zelensky even made a joke about it today. No.
Exactly. In fact, he issued a statement, a decree that he published on his website, and he also posted it on his X account, where he ordered that no attacks be carried out against Moscow's Red Square during the Victory Day parade, which, well, is in just a few hours from now, and Russia, well, celebrates the end of World War II. He says it's for humanitarian reasons. That's what trade is. The message for humanitarian reasons as established in negotiations with the United States on May 8, 2026. It was decided to authorize the celebration. It was decided to authorize the celebration of the parade in Moscow, the Russian Federation, on May 9. So they're giving Russia permission to have their little party. There was already a reaction from Peskov, I lost it, where they insisted no, they didn't need to give us permission. They seemed really annoyed. But, well, the truth is that it was in the thread, right? That this could happen. Exactly.
Well, it's partly a joke and also possibly political tension that's going on right now between Ukraine and Russia. And obviously, you know that these kinds of comments are upsetting.
There's a lot of reaction.
There's always a reaction. So, well.
So what did Donald Trump say today? Well, he's the one who announced this 3-day ceasefire. That's right. Well, let's see if the Russians can hold out for 3 days, which he says will be the beginning, maybe the beginning of the end of the war. That's what he hopes. Honestly, I see it as very complicated, and what is expected is that there will be a prisoner exchange, about 1,000 people. I think it's the biggest one we've seen so far. The ceasefire days would be from May 9th to 11th, during which there would be a total suspension of hostilities and the exchange of 1,000 prisoners from each country. So 1,000 and 1,000. So there will be 2,000 people in total. That's a significant number.
Yes, exactly that. Well, let's move on to other matters. Because, look, while all this is going on and while Milei is in place, well, making friends with Trump and supposedly trying to put pressure on the Malvinas. At the same time, Chile is forming an alliance with the United Kingdom. I mean, it's going to be a matter of aerospace cooperation, even military training. I mean, we're talking about the Chileans having several advantages, with those from the Royal Air Force of the United Kingdom who will be collaborating with us, doing what's it called, exchanges, let's say, in security, logistics, and so on. According to reports from the Chilean Air Force, the FAC, and the Royal Air Force, the RAF, have experienced a remarkable boost in recent months, reflecting, as they say, a shared vision of aerospace domain and joint operational readiness. Well, these are things that are currently being debated in Argentina regarding the relationship with the United Kingdom and once again with the United States. And on the other hand, Chile is focusing on the United Kingdom. That's how things are on that topic as well. Let's move on to other important matters.
Well, today they're announcing again. It seems like yet another one.
Let's say,
for several days now, they've been doing the same thing. The United States Southern Command, the one operating in the Caribbean and the Atlantic here in Mexico, reports, and also the Pacific reports, that another attack was carried out against a vessel, which they say was dedicated to drug trafficking. This time it was in the Western Pacific, and they claim that 2 people had lost their lives. There is also a survivor. And right now, the Coast Guard has activated the search and rescue system for this person. And well, This is a statement released on social media by the Southern Spear's Joint Task Force, or as it's called, the Southern Spear, under the command of General Francis Eldenoven. And they say they carried out this attack with a lethal synergistic strike. Obviously, no American lost their life, but they always make that clear. Well, it's part of the ongoing operations taking place in the Americas. Today, Trump came out very aggressively against Mexico.
That's how he acted. He got intense. That's according to him. Well, it's also part of the pressure strategies, right? Applying pressure, not going, and pressure, right? But anyway, that's how things are with Trump too. There's nothing more about that matter right now.
Not about this topic.
Let's return to other key topics too. Among the interesting notes, check out this pretty curious technology, and what we're seeing here is like a table that's slightly tilted. Now watch what happens. It's shown in fast motion, but it's actually slower than it appears. But anyway, if you have a little patience and want to keep your TV protected, you can see the TV folding like an accordion, then it opens up and you can't see the lines. Where the structure is, let's say, right? So it automates this like a wooden box or what looks like wood, and then it opens up and the big TV is placed there. This isn't something you would report. This is a television or a 5-panel TV made in Shenzhen. This one is, well, over there in the tech capital of China. It's a 5-panel LED TV. And it doesn't say the brand, it just says where it was made, which is in Shenzhen, like I said, but it doesn't say the brand that's going to release this TV. Maybe it's still an experimental model, I don't know, but I mean, if they've done it with cell phones and computers, well, I've already seen some TVs, not as big as this one. But yeah, honestly, it's also one of the interesting images of the day, right? And like I said, today was a day full of images, but about topics. What's it called? About UFOs, right? A lot about UFOs and what we're seeing here too.
What we're seeing here is impressive. That's how some hospitals are in India. Just imagine the poor doctor was there. From the beginning, you see the hallways first, right? The hospital hallways. And then the person with the camera goes into what looks like a doctor's office. But look at the number of people surrounding the poor doctor or the secretary in charge. It's not the doctor. Just imagine that.
And she's yelling at them. She's yelling, telling them, hey, you go over there, you go over there.
You can't let crowds in India overwhelm you. You can't live that way.
Imagine, you get there and that's how you are from the moment you start until you finish, right? I mean, you even get home and you don't want to talk to anyone anymore, right? I mean, that's how it is.
No, you don't live in a cave at the end of the day. Yeah, it's impressive.
You're in the fetal position, right? That's just how it is.
And what's worse, you see everyone yelling at them and giving them the paper. No, let's stop complaining about cleaning.
No, not that either. And complain.
Because that's better. So it doesn't stay like that.
So that we don't have this.
What a mess you have here in Mexico with the issue of children's vacations. Today has been good. They've been arguing with this one. He's dark-skinned, thin, dark-skinned. The person currently in charge of the SEP, who was the one who announced that the end date is June 5th. And well, the president came out to say, well, the date, I mean, it's not set in stone. I mean, it's like they're giving us, no, like he was the one with the idea. He brought it up and that's it. And then, well, they asked Delgado what's going on with that. The president said that it wasn't basically set in stone. And he said, no, the end date is June 5th. So he's contradicting the president. So this is Mario Delgado. And in Guadalajara, they've criticized this June 5th end date a lot because, well, in Mexico, we've already experienced World Cups.
And I don't know, the president and Mario Delgado don't really seem aligned. President Mario Delgado basically represents AMLU. And honestly, this is a position he shouldn't have had. I mean, what's he doing at the SCP? They should have put an education scholar there, someone who really knows about educational matters, not this guy. But anyway, they forced him to put him there. And well, we have this kind of controversy like what happened in Guadalajara. They said, no way, not in Guadalajara. Let's continue.
How are you going to do it? You're going to do everything halfway. And the thing is, we've already experienced World Cups here. So what do people do on the day of the game? Well, the kids get together and they put the TV on for an hour or two while the game lasts. And that's it. Nothing happens.
The World Cup is not a priority. I'm sorry, but it's not a priority for Mexico. Not at all. I mean, education is a priority, but the World Cup is not. That's very clear. And well, it's a huge mistake to give preference to the World Cup over this important matter of education. If anything is missing, is that we need to put more effort into this issue, and right now, that's not happening. It's tough. Well, let's go to the comments. How have you been? How are you doing?
Greetings. It says the president has already backed down. Her popularity is declining. Well, she wasn't in agreement. I mean, I don't even think they asked her. Yeah.
Of course, I mean, she should be tougher in the sense of saying, look, no.
I mean, this can't be done and it can't be said. Yes, she had mentioned before that she wanted the vacations to be longer for the kids, but not 3 months and I don't know how many days. I mean, no. Yes. Greetings. I mean, oh.
Leo, how have you been? Hello, MT, Bene, Gabriel, Rublox, Tapatia. They say Guadalajara could cancel on the day there's a game. That's what it says.
It's fine. Nothing happens.
The day, I don't understand, right? I mean, also the day, but
I remember being in middle school when the World Cup was in the US, maybe Atlanta, but I'm not sure where exactly. I remember that day they gathered us in the auditorium, they put the TV on, and that was it. I mean, you missed 2 hours of class, nothing happened. Yes. Greetings to Rublox. He says, yes, but it's not in the pharmaceutical company's interest if the population is healthy. The business is selling medicine to kind of cure you, but not to heal you completely.
not to heal or prevent it or anything like that.
Yes. The topic of prevention is a subject that has been very neglected by all governments. Well, that's something I really have to applaud Robert Kennedy Jr. for. Even though he's not a doctor, he really cares a lot about prevention. And that's why I've been introducing these projects so that kids exercise and eat better and so on. Because it's useless to have more and more medications if the population keeps getting sick, younger and younger. Greetings to Emma. How are you?
Prevention, that's the focus. I mean, that's the focus because that's how you're going to avoid having so many cases of any disease you can think of. I mean, yes, that's the focus. But honestly, in some countries, they don't work on that. In other countries, that's the main topic, right? Prevention, isn't it? And there you would just have to see, well, how many cases there are proportionally overall, right? Obesity, cancer, etc. And realize, well, which are truly the health systems that work, he says.
Yes, the other day he gave me something like a research study that a girl did. I don't remember if she's a doctor or in charge of physical matters. Yes, but the thing is that she said that the way sports are handled is super different in the United States and in Europe. But in Europe, it's like this. They eat a lot of bread. They eat a lot of little things like that. They don't eat processed foods. It's super rare. It's not like in the United States, and they don't go to gyms. It's really strange, and gyms aren't like in the United States. In the United States, despite the problem they have obesity, they do have a lot, or a gym membership is something they pay for, whether they go or not, they pay for it. But in Europe, people don't go to the gym. They exercise by biking, they go for walks, or they see it as something more recreational to have a good time with friends. And in the United States, it's like you have to go to burn calories, and even so, they still can't get past their health and obesity problems. And in Europe, they don't have that problem. It's crazy, isn't it? We also have to change the way we see exercise and, well, obviously food.
Food and prevention. I mean, it's not like you're going to be at the gym all day eating only fruits and vegetables, right? I mean, it's a, how do they say it? Yeah.
It's a balance.
It's a balance, exactly.
Right? Yes, they don't go to extremes, saying things like we're not going to eat any carbohydrates, not even vegetables with carbohydrates.
Yeah, no. I mean, you see, check out the photos of the parents, right? I mean, and the parents that had, I don't know.
Who studies?
They were in the 70s, right? And before that, any photos you have from before. And notice how most of them everyone was thin. And of course, they ate tortillas and sweet bread. I mean, they ate everything. Just in moderation, right? Or don't overdo it. Yeah.
Processed. And it wasn't processed either. Yeah, that's the thing. Greetings to Aldo Barajas, who says, well, actually, Pepe, I know. Greetings. Pepe and Vivo, I think the word you were looking for yesterday to describe how the mind can create entities and situations is tulpa. Tulpa, thank you. Exactly. Greetings to Angie. She says, culture in the world has deteriorated. Angie says it's not a World Cup priority, but ignorant people are easily manipulated, benefiting the government financially. Greetings to Angie.
Greetings. How have you been? Hello. Also, greetings to the whole community that's arriving. Here's a joke for grumpy people. There are two words that will open many doors for you. Which ones? Pull and push. He says, I already took the editing exam. What grade did you get? Failed. So what happened? He says, have you heard the one about the aviary and the birds? He says, look at this, look at this. Come, you ask me. He says the whistleblowers, the leakers, if only they would always speak up before they're told to be quiet. He says, greetings, whistleblower. By the way, there's a topic. There are details about what's happening with the scientists. At least some of these details aren't urgent, so we can talk about them tomorrow if you want. And, well, there are some more cases that we'll talk about later. Today it was mostly about UAPs and UFOs and all that. Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it, but at least tomorrow we'll update it. This topic about the scientists and some very interesting opinions that have been coming up. In fact, Michio Kaku himself has also been giving his opinion, commenting on the topic. There are some scientists who are worried because they say that if there are issues among scientists on sensitive topics, there could be trouble, even though Trump tried to downplay it the other day. They say that if they see there are risks from scientists in 7 areas, like for example, nuclear science, and things that are related to space. And also since that time, scientists from pharmaceutical companies and places like that have been complaining that there's talent poaching. But that's almost normal in all museums, in all industries. They steal very talented people either with bribes or with higher salaries too. Not necessarily bribes, just with a higher offer. Well, you also have the right to go to the other side, right? But suddenly, well, it gets intense because these aren't countries that are considered enemies of the United States. The other day, there was a case about an expert in Mukoningkera. Do you remember that we talked about it here and the Chinese took him? He had trouble here in the United States, over there in the United States, and the Chinese convinced him and took him, and now he's there. He's leading a technology-related project or something like that, but the point is yes, and the same thing happens in the United States and Japan. Everyone is trying to poach scientists however they can. She says, ever since I came back from Canada, I'm impressed by the obesity in Guadalajara. She says this interesting local wisdom, like you noticed how it is there.
I'm not talking about Guadalajara, but I see it here in Monterrey. Suddenly, if the whole family, you say it's fine. It's worrying because there are kids as young as 10, really little, already with a very serious obesity problem. Do you see the parents? How can they help when they can't even help themselves?
Yeah, it's complicated. Yeah, and well, it's a matter of 100% prevention, but I don't know what.
Tavicast is from the Pinochet wing in Chile, and let's remember that Pinochet was friends with Margaret Thatcher, and that's why England leans that way in business.
Yeah, look, interesting. Who says that?
Tavi says it.
Thanks for the info. Pepe says this. He wonders if skipping Congress can already be considered an Olympic sport because almost every country does it. He says it's probably true. That's good.
Alejandra Gomez says, wow, I know how much information the government hid from us, but hey, now we know that Mausan wasn't crazy. The topic comes up about those little figures you presented, and did you see it? Well, they say no.
They say that's not what we did with our friend.
That's right.
I mean, exactly. It's not good. They say there's nothing there, but well, it's a joke for bitter people, and now it's your turn. Here it is, look.
The joke says, but for bitter people, there are 2 words that will open you up to that realist.
Yeah, I thought I didn't download it right. It says, good evening, greetings. How are you, Cleo? Hello, Rublos. Who else is around here? The one that didn't show up in all the comments. That's what this one says.
Greetings to Cleo Vasquez. How are you, Cleo? I'm here too in
the soaked tortas. Pepe says, I was thinking that the Iranians pretended to enrich uranium to set a trap for Trump, the United States, and Israel so they would attack them and then be able to keep the thing and stay. Hey, that's an interesting comment. Yeah, what we were going to comment here once was that we had the feeling that Iran actually wanted to be attacked. Looking at it now, what you're saying makes sense to me. I mean, not necessarily that they haven't enriched it, but just enough to put themselves in a position of like that. in that position, like saying, look, they're attacking me, and so with this I have to put myself in this other position, right? What would have happened if instead of all this, Iran had taken the Strait of Hormuz one day, just like that, like the hijabineros, and actually taken the Strait of Hormuz, and by force, right? I mean, it would be because neither this time nor in the hypothetical case would it be justified. Obviously, it's not justified in any way, but well, on this occasion, what is being shown, at least internally, is that the Revolutionary Guard has all the power. I mean, what people have always said, well, for some years now, they've been saying that they're the ones who have the power. Well, yes, it's already been shown that they're the ones who are in charge there, right?
Greetings to Henry Carvajal, who is joining us from Venezuela and has very good information. Greetings. This is a land that has suffered a lot because of the events and very serious incidents with loss of life, missing people, and political prisoners. Yes, that topic, the government of Venezuela has completely ignored it. Honestly, it's really, really bad.
Terrible. Greetings, greetings.
Greetings, man. Well, I have a phrase here that says, forgiveness is not denied to anyone, but trust is never regained. With the topic of forgiveness, I was just seeing that they were discussing it, and honestly, wow, it's a really complicated subject. Sometimes when I see cases, because in some cases in the United States, especially of parents who forgive, for example, the person who took their child's life, I think that's so intense, right? It's powerful to achieve that level of forgiveness. Because many of them are asking for them to be released. For example, I think there's a case of a guy who was driving recklessly and crashed, taking the life of someone's daughter or son. I don't remember, but I don't know. It's so hard, but you also say it's impressive. Not impressive, but I don't know if someone can have that level of forgiveness.
There's a documentary by this guy, Werner Herzog, that's on YouTube for free, and it talks about people who talk on the phone or who text, specifically who text while driving. So, well, it shows several cases, and it shows the case of a guy who was driving his truck back home from work on a highway where there are not the Mennonites, the other ones.
Those, my friends.
The friends who go in their wagons, right? And in the wagons, they're usually a bit on the road and a bit on the shoulder. So he says he looked down to send an "I'm almost there, I love you" message. He sent it to his wife and didn't even have time to look up. He crashes straight into a wagon where there were 2 kids and 2 parents, and the kids die. The parents survive. He goes to jail immediately because of this. Obviously, he was devastated. Obviously, when the police arrive, and in the documentary, he's already free. He reads the letter the father sent him.
And from the children.
From the children forgiving him. I don't tell myself.
I say no, I don't want to get religious, but the Bible says everyone is your brother. Would you forgive your brother for that? No. Christian.
Yes. I don't really know much about their culture, but look, what I'm saying is that they apply it, and obviously he's reading that to me. It's, well, obviously super.
Because in the end, you didn't take away just anything.
And because of terrible carelessness, he says.
There
are birds of many sizes. It depends on the rank and who buys, the newspaper says. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what's going on. Are they good?
Greetings to Juan. What did the couple do? Greetings from Uruguay. Greetings to Rosie Rosaiva, Kasha and Dalgo. Thank you very much, by the way, for that super chat.
Greetings. Thank you.
Greetings. Also, Martin says, forgiveness is not for the one who hurts you. It's for the victim, so she can move on, If the anchor of hatred to lighten your load, yes. Well, that's extremely important because then there are people who hold on to that and only hurt themselves.
And it makes you sick. In the end, hatred, anger, annoyance, this whole situation, well, it's tough. It's like, hey, let's just put a stop to it and move on. Today we did a live stream, I hope you saw it, about what's happening in the ocean. I'm trying in the mornings to divide the live streams by topic. They're not that long, but they are themed. So we did a special one about a group of scientists who, through the satellite, what was its name? Copernicus. Yes, through the Copernicus satellite, they do a global study and issue a global alert. By the way, they're saying watch out for the ocean because with the data in hand, they confirm that two things are clearly visible. First, the El Nino phenomenon. It's practically a fact, right? Because of the patterns, those are the patterns of how everything is moving. The whole issue with the water and the currents. But at the same time, they're detecting record high temperatures. Already in April, we matched the highest record in history for warming. 2024 reached it, and now it's matching again, but it's only April. So, do they think that in 2026 it's going to break the record of records when it comes to ocean temperature? And as a result, the effects will be seen. So, we shouldn't be surprised if suddenly, I don't know where exactly, but there will be surprises, some tremendous phenomena. So, I'm saying there's the full report in case you want to check it out. I'd appreciate it. And well, we'll be here. We're still waiting for updates from the University of Colorado and NOAA about the upcoming hurricane season. Later on in the coming weeks, before June, it should be this month of May, the next one from NOAA, about the number of hurricanes there will be. And then in the middle of the season, they do another review and kind of forecast again how it's going to end because the end is the toughest, right? The end, I mean, the hurricane season starts like this and then it goes up. So, well, we also keep updating that, right? Yes, yes.
Yes, I know. Here, as you can see, it's super pro-Trump. But the agreement that Obama had is much like 1,000 times better than whatever Trump is going to achieve. That's what analysts have already said. I mean, Trump has told so many lies about that agreement, saying that it gave them a lot of money, which is a lie. He's going to have to give much more if he manages to make this agreement.
If he manages to make the agreement, what they're asking for is $20 billion, which is about the same as the agreement back then with Obama, more or less. The money that was released was 3 billion here. They want to release 20 billion. That's pretty rough. Agreements are never perfect. I'm not going to say, oh, the Obama agreement was perfect. Not at all. Not at all.
But it was better.
But it was better. Much better.
For now.
So
what happens is that the miracle happens and he manages to
maybe achieve the best. And if he does, well, we have to say it too. I mean, but we have to have, as I say, you always have to put your biases aside, right? Because if suddenly you're a big fan of something or strongly against it, it doesn't let us see reality. We have to try to see that reality. And that's always important, right?
And she brings that to me and tells me, and it's official, I don't do anything all day. I spend my time watching her show. Every time she brings it to me,
I send you a big greeting. Thank you so much. I do watch you and keep watching, which matters. We really appreciate you joining us on various topics. What was happening during the live streams was that sometimes we would do them for 2 hours in the morning and then not everyone would watch them. You know, they would watch a part, whatever, so they would miss the topics and they would tell me, hey, Pepe, you're not talking about this topic. You're not talking about that topic. I did talk about it, but it's at such and such minute and so on. But this way, with it broken up, it feels better, right? At least that's how I feel, and I see that they go into the topic they're interested in, right?
Noah's dad says, as a joke between couples, it's been a month since we've had sex. Don't make it plural. Careful, and someone goes to sleep, but in the yard they say, what movie are you watching? Serial killers. And what's it about? About a butterfly that can't find its mother. Subscribe? No.
You can't see it that way. It was about a butterfly that can't find its mother.
Did you understand?
No.
I didn't get that, Dad. We need to come back.
That's not how it's done.
Reading something in 3D.
Yes. Greetings.
Okay. Leonardo says, and then Russia attacks them and gets involved in a war that no one knows when it will end. I mean, I usually tell you this is happening in stages. That's what Pepe says. Do you know why I thought that? Because I remember that you had said that Ukraine had set a trap for Russia, making them believe they were going to attack. Okay? They thought the war would be easy, but then Russia attacked and got bogged down in a war with no clear end. I mean, it was a strategy, and it seems to me that Iran has chosen that strategy to achieve its dream.
What an interesting comment. Yes, because look, you know how that works. You know that X enemy is coming after you, right? You say, hey, you know what? I already realized that this enemy is going to attack me. What do you prefer, that they attack you now when they're not prepared, when they're missing this, missing that, or that they attack you in 3 years and tear you apart because they'll be much more prepared? So, I mean, these are calculations that are made now. Was it the same with the Iran issue? I don't know, but it seems like an interesting hypothesis to analyze. I mean, how much of this? Well, there's that. An intelligence report claims that Ali Khamenei, I mean, the supreme leader, put himself in a position to die. I mean, he put himself at a point where he said, well, I know now.
But he didn't even hide.
He didn't hide exactly when he knew it was very likely they were going to attack him. And many people think, well, maybe he wanted to sacrifice himself, right? Who knows? No one knows about those things.
Suddenly, those are the things.
They're those kinds of things too, you know. He says, friends, years ago, Chilean researchers developed a hantavirus vaccine for southern Chile and the long-tailed mouse, but no government invested in it at the time.
Classic with COVID, when I eat, a year before we had already told one. Scientists were conducting research on a vaccine against all coronaviruses. Everyone was looking for investment and investment. The research was stopped, and a few months later, COVID showed up. I mean,
it's controlling quartz without needing anything.
One
food
and one thing in it.
It would cost $2 million, which is minor compared to the morale boost. Well, this one says war, conflict is the best way to stay in power. Olga says too. Exactly, because look what would have happened if there hadn't been a war. The protests were growing and growing. There were more and bigger protests, and now they were more organized.
They are already well positioned.
They are no longer organized. The Revolutionary Guard is in a stronger position. I mean, it's terrible, honestly. Greetings, you see how it is.
Doing it, and the thing is, it's supposed to be sarcasm, but no, it doesn't work as a joke. The one about birth by nature. Sorry, real killers actually, but no, not as a joke, just like those who say that, no, it doesn't work. But it's already a bag.
I left. He already set it up as the movie title says. He says that's what it's about.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Greetings to Gabriel Duran Castro. It's a business, he says.
Yes, greetings, Gabriel. Exactly, it's a business, says Angie. She says, they're serial killers. What's it going to be about? Butterflies, she says. Yes. Yeah. Not today, tomorrow. It's tomorrow, Saturday, tomorrow is movie day. Let's see if I get my act together and we can watch another one.
Right now, says William Molin. He says, I think the UFO topic is mostly because of the antivirus.
I mean, everyone, and the antivirus issue is because of the UFO topic. Well, yes, but anyway, excellent comment, really good.
Guys, remember that we're on WhatsApp, we're on Telegram, we're on Facebook, on Instagram, but on Telegram and WhatsApp, that's where we specifically send you notifications with the latest updates as they happen so you can stay up to date with what's going on in the world.
Greetings, Nicole and Franco, Gabriel, Ben, Angie, to the whole community. Big greetings, Tapatia, Gisela, to everyone watching us on replay, Leonardo, William, everyone, and of course, Verderi, greetings.
Greetings.
Nicole and Martin, yes, Henry, to the whole community, thank you very much. See you tomorrow. We're here with the latest updates. See you later.